Welcome back, YouTubers, to our Ring of Honor Wrestling review. Today we managed to get it up on Sunday rather than the usual Wednesday or Thursday. So thank you very much, Internet. That's all we can say. We're the British Fist. Make sure you subscribe up above, like this video, and comment your thoughts on ROH Wrestling for today, even if you did indeed watch the show.
Make sure you contact us on the links in the description box below.
Yes, and we have a couple of things we want to talk about today about ROH. We'll start off by saying that the show didn't have that much wrestling, and if you're a company that says you're devoted to wrestling and you're putting in this much filler, you're kind of not really delivering on your promises, and you're really just being bad, if not worse than TNA and WWE in terms from a wrestling standpoint.
When it comes to filler, the first thing that comes to my mind is TNA.
Yeah.
Because TNA is good, all the backstage stuff. But with ROH, I've been told when I first started watching this, why I started watching, because they concentrate on wrestling. And to be honest, I was disappointed in this show because of the amount of website usage and the long promo stuff. But yeah.
They could have taken a lot of that filler out and put in another match, couldn't they? I can see what ROH are trying to do. They're trying to build to their pay-per-view, but a lot of stuff we'll go through here wasn't needed, and we'll go through it now. We opened up this show with Jim Cornette announcing that Eddie Edwards is going to be the number one contender for the ROH World Championship, and he'll face Davey Richards at Final Battle. Based on last week, we thought it was going to be like a decision between Jay Lethal and Eddie Edwards, which kind of implied maybe a match. We didn't get that, but what I find interesting about this is that they've announced what is essentially going to be the main event at Final Battle after they've announced the tag team title match. That's just interesting to me. Does it show where their priorities lie? You know, it just interests me, like the way that the order they're doing these matches in, like announcing them. You'd think they'd announce the main event match first, as that would be the biggest draw.
It would have been, because there's been times in past shows, you see, they had perfect chance to maybe give us a match, give us the World Heavyweight Championship match, but they put the tag first.
Yeah, Eddie Edwards says that he has a new trainer. Yay!
This is the first time I've heard about this. Tell me.
This is going to be the new storyline, is it? We're going to want to know who Eddie Edwards' trainer is. Who knows? And then finally, it's finally happened. We've had Davey Richards in an in-ring segment. He comes out and they both hype up their match. The American Wolves going at it. We saw this match at Best in the World. It's probably the match which should have happened because they're obviously former tag team partners. Richards versus Davey versus Eddie 3. It's just nice to see the world champ finally in an in-ring segment. It's about fucking time, because it should have been really happened on the first show, showing your main guy.
That would have been a great idea, but all I can say is, just one more time! And the way they spoke to each other, it was a nice opener, quick to the point. They both had their say, and I just thought it was nicely done opener.
Yep. You know what, though? In this feud, I'd like to see some heel thing or some face heel thing. It seems to me like Davey Richards on the mic would suit better as a heel. May not be to the masses, but to me, his work on the mic said to us he should probably be the heel out of these two. They also announced the match next week, the American Wolves versus the House of Truth. So that's a good match to look forward to. Another tag match, ROH in unanimous for tag matches. Eddie Edwards and Davey Richards versus Roderick Strong and Michael Elgin. I am looking forward to that match, and it does have some sense about it after that segment we had last week. With all the stuff happening after the opening match.
The thing I like about ROH, I'm starting to notice a lot over the past weeks, is they always announce it for next week. Like other shows, you don't really get that, but with this, you do. They give you what's happening next week. Yeah. I like that.
Sometimes it might not be done at the best, but at least in this segment, they kind of tried to put some sort of emphasis on it. But the main thing is, out of this segment, open the show, we've got the match for Final Battle announced, which is good. The main event is going to be Davey Richards versus Eddie Edwards. Not much else to say about it. It was a decent opener. It did its job, didn't it?
It was quick, nice and smooth, good opener. It got the crowd ready for this week and next week, so I liked it.
And then we got the rest of the show. We got a recap of Eddie Edwards' path to the #1 contendership. It was basically one match against Michael Elgin, and was this needed? It was filler, really, wasn't it? This just wasn't needed.
No, I look at it and thinking, yes, it was good moments to see, but it just weren't needed.
It really wasn't. Then you have Truth Martini talking to Michael Elgin about letting people down, talking about how he let his family down. Again, this did drag on a little bit. I'm not really sure this was needed. I do understand what they're trying to do, and they're trying to give Michael Elgin this reason to go out there and batter someone. But it was just, after what we just saw, it was just kind of seemed like more filler. And then you had Shiloh Jones talk about he's wrestling the biggest star, and he's essentially a jobber. I don't really know why they're giving him any interview time, but
yeah, it's all about the truth.
Yeah, definitely.
I just speak the truth. And then that thing, as interesting it was to see, I did think it went on a little bit too long for what it was actually trying to accomplish, but there we go.
Life intervention expert. Lie. Just saying. Then we have the match. Michael Elgin versus Shiloh Jones. This was essentially going to be Michael Elgin beating up a jobber, wasn't it? 3.5 minutes, longer than most jobber matches. That was it, really, what it was for, wasn't it?
It was a quick match for what it was. Again, even though I still think with all that happened that was before this and what's going to come after, they could have had another match as well as this one, but we'll get more into it.
It was really underwhelming, the fact that, the first match we have of the night, after all this kind of like filler stuff talking, is like a 3.5 minute match. I wouldn't mind it if it was just after a match like last week, but this week it was kind of underwhelming seeing just, 14 minutes of wrestling, maybe 13. It was just very, very underwhelming from a show which really usually puts the emphasis on the wrestling.
It was disappointing to see. I wouldn't want this match been longer. I think they keep it this short was good, but then again, we're going to keep mentioning this. The amount of bill they got, they could have had another shortish match on ROH.
Definitely so, like they did last week. We had an Inside ROH segment. Now this was somewhat interesting because in this segment we had the whole Kevin Steen thing, something which I'm genuinely quite interested in with Ring of Honor. A guy who I think Ring of Honor really needs. As we saw from his promo, he's a very edgy character that would stand out in ROH and could be a good top heel for them. By the way he did his promo, he was just so far and out there different from any other guy we've seen on this TV program.
A very packed room full of lawyers and that getting to their point across. And when it came to the Kevin Steen speaking, I was like, good, because he was sitting there, he had his point coming across, he actually goes through the reasons what he can do when he comes back, because he is going to come back. I just thought, in my opinion, it was a little bit long, but again, at the same time, it was needed compared to the other promos that we've had in the night.
It's nice how they're bringing him back, and it's nice how this character of Kevin Steen is out for revenge, rather than, we're two great athletes, let's settle this in a match. It's just great that, we're getting some guy who wants revenge and is a big heel and, wants to draw heat.
And it's definitely, when he does come back into ROH, you are going to expect him to do what he said he's going to do. Yeah. So he is getting us ready to see the future of ROH with him involved.
Definitely. And while this segment was a little bit corny, in my opinion, it's still interesting the way they're bringing him back with the whole lawsuit thing against Jim Cornette. So we'll see where this proceeds. I imagine this will be on some of the future TV shows, and it'll probably feature a final battle, maybe against a Steve Corino, who knows. So that's what I'm thinking anyway.
There should be good matches coming up with him. There'll be some feud or something going on between him and the one who doesn't want him involved.
Jim Cornette. It'll be like Steve Corino or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, so that we look forward to.
We then have a little bit after this, as if this wasn't enough, talking about Bennett talks about the TV title, how he didn't walk out of it, and I'm thinking this is probably going to be the match of Final Battle, Jay Lethal versus Mike Bennett for the TV title. It's just, I didn't really think this was needed again on the show.
Well, adding up matches for the pay-per-view, I do give it thumbs up to that. But again, just giving us a long inside ROH thing. And now another thing, I'm thinking, let's just get to the main event, please.
Yeah, and for me personally, I think this should have been this. If they're going to announce a match, which they probably will do, get it done in an in-ring segment or in a match or something like that. We then have a video package highlighting the Briscoes and an All Night Express number one contendership match. It's nice they're trying to reassure us that the Briscoes are the number one contenders, but we saw this last week, and it's again more unneeded filler. And we've seen they calculated all this unneeded filler that we feel could have maybe contributed to a third match, and which could have really helped the flow of the show. Just saying.
And all about this time, I was saying, get to the main event.
Yeah, but it just really wasn't needed, really, because we had the Briscoes come out after the main event, so why was it really needed? We then have Jim Cornette explaining the Proving Ground concept. This to me was very short and to the point. It was needed to explain to the people out there what the Proving Ground concept was.
Because we only wanted the second half of this, appearing on ROH on TV. So explaining this, I think, was a thumbs up because they needed to explain this. They've explained other ROH things like the handshake and all
the Code of Honor.
This was needed. So
definitely so. Something specific to ROH, it would seem. We then have the main event. World's Greatest Tag Team versus Caprice Coleman and Cedric Alexander. You know what them two. What can we? This was the main event. This match started off really slow and sluggish, and it seemed like Caprice Coleman and Cedric Alexander were really slowing down the World's Greatest Tag Team a lot, and it affected the match a lot, didn't it? In my opinion, and in your opinion, as we were talking about this before the video.
World's Greatest Tag Team. I look forward to matches. So I was saying That's why I was looking forward to this match, the World Greatest Tag Team. I really didn't expect their opponents to be as slow as they were. They weren't as entertaining to watch. They just didn't make this main event as big as I was hoping for.
No, there was also some really bad camera work in there as well, like panning away when they were trying to hit their double team move, and it's like, well, if I want to buy into this team, I'm really going to need to see their double team maneuvers and a bit more of their entrances. But it was just a bit of a slug. It picked up more towards the end. But Caprice Coleman and Cedric Alexander did look a little bit slow and off the pace, in my opinion. And the World's Greatest Tag Team get the win before the time limit expires. So thank God they won't be getting a title shot in the future.
No, I was really, even though I liked the length, because the length was a good thing for a main event. But at the same time, when I noticed how slow they were, I was thinking, I'll just finish this.
It did definitely affect the match. But after the match, though, this is what ROH need to start doing a lot more of, and they've started to do it. They have the Briscoes come out on the mic afterwards, and then they hype their match for Final Battle on the mic with the World's Greatest Tag Team in the ring. So that was effective. It really created a nice ending to the ROH TV show. Hyping the last thing you hear is hyping to one of their matches at the pay-per-view, even though it's not going to be the main event. But I can tolerate it here because it was a tag team match with the Wrestling's Greatest Tag Team in it.
ROH are good with all these tag teams. I give them that. But again, maybe the
opener should have been
maybe switch them around. But even though it was a good finish, hyped up the tag team they were, but again, I think they should switch. Yeah,
maybe so. I mean, that is going to be your main event, so have it as your main event to your show. I can understand it either way. They want the World's Greatest Tag Team, who are well known to more mass audiences, to get the main event slot. But I don't know. It just depends on your own perspective of it. But anyway, overall thoughts on this show. You start off. I can pretty much imagine what you're going to say here. I'm probably going to say the same thing.
Disappointed because basically all I'm going to call it is replay of honor, because most of the shows just replay of something. There was a lot of filler in it. The first match got okay length. The main event got good length. So the match got good length, but take away some of the filler, third match would have been decent.
Yeah, I mean the opener set up the match at Final Battle, which is good for me. That worked. Seeing Kevin Steen and his return to TV via a video package was good for me. I did enjoy that, but we didn't get enough wrestling tonight compared to last week, which really helped the show flow. The lack of wrestling really didn't help the show flow this week, even though I did enjoy some of the segments. So for me, it was a little bit disappointing, even though at least they're trying to hype up to their pay-per-view in some way or form. The wrestling was very underwhelming, in my opinion. We had a bit of a squash match, and then the main event was very slow. So overall, the show, to me, was very disappointing, especially after last week, which we thought was very good.
And I actually graded last week, but this week it's hard to grade because it's just not as good as last week at all.
So I think the word coming from this review is disappointed.
Big time.
Okay then, so at least the Final Battle hype begins, and it's going to be on December 23rd. Go to ROHWrestling.com if you want, because they kept showing that throughout the night, didn't they? Many times.
Yeah.
Right then, so let's just say, if you guys saw this, or if you guys or gals out there saw this TV show, get your thoughts in that comment section down below. I want to know your thoughts on this whole thing. Maybe you would disagree or agree with some of our points. Let us know in that comment section, please.
And all I can say is thank you for watching this ROH review. Enjoy. Our next one will be next week, which will hopefully be better than this. And you've heard the words from the British Fist. Thank you very much, and goodbye.